I know we have had a class before later in the year, that's December. So some of the tutors tackled, the basic understanding of computers, computer software, and computer programming. And I hope most of us were in the class, right? I will need maximum of your cooperation.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Okay, fine. So today, without wasting much time, we'll be tackling variables and variable scoping. In computers, maybe some of us has come across variables before, and let's say variable scoping and scoping. So let me try to break them down so that it kind of help us with the understanding. This is in context of programming. So when we talk about variables, okay, so we know our normal English, and we say variable. Variable are like when you see something's varying, like it is changing. It is not always the same. But when it comes to the context of programming, when you say variables, we are just talking about containers. So in a short form, variables are containers that host data, information. So if let's say you want to, for example, let's assume you have a disk, right? This is a form of it's a media of it's a storage media, one of the storage media, actually say. So you want to, let's say, store an information or a data on a disk. Let's assume the disk is the variable that I'm talking about, the container. So these containers, so for example, I think maybe we in the previous class that you had, you briefly talked about, I think, variables and memories. I can't hear the class. I think I will need maximum of cooperation. I think we want to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
So that
Yes.
I don't really know. Actually, this is my first class.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So some of them are still new. Some of them just joined. So you can just flow, but then if you want someone to come in, maybe you can let us chip in. But then our previous class, like you're asking, we tackled introduction to computers. We also tackled data storage and data types. But then we didn't do anything on variables. We didn't go deep into variables, and that's why you are handling this topic. So
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, basically, thank you very much.
Okay, that's fine. So let me, please, if once I'm talking, maybe if there's a point where maybe you didn't have much understanding on what I said, jot it down so that when we end the session, though I will leave a platform for questions. So you can raise all your questions and your doubts so that it can be clarified for you. Okay. So in simple and short, the variables I'm talking about, as I said, they are containers that hold information on computers. So whenever you want to store items on a computer, we put it in a memory, okay? But this memory are low level. It is very difficult for human beings to understand the memory addresses where the data is being stored, okay? And this data is not a simple, it's not our normal data like you read. These are machine leveled data. It is in the form of zeros and ones. I'm not saying this to confuse, but then I'm saying, so these are data that we stored on a disk, okay? So I will show you how we declare the variables when we are programming. That is the most important things. But if you want to have much understanding of this, I could go further and deep into this session, but it will not be necessary right now as you are trying to get the basis. Okay, but if you, as time goes on, you become very serious with the programming, you understand the variables and all these memory addresses that I'm talking about. I think noise is coming from somewhere. If we could mute ourselves, and when it times needed, you can unmute yourself and talk. Fine. So now we'll be talking about assignment and naming of variables. Let me quickly show you a picture. For example, we could all see this. So this is Java. Okay, this is Java. And we have a similar fashion when we are declaring variables in Python, in JavaScript, and most of the languages. So this here, I don't know if you all can see my pointer. We have something called int, int. So this is the description of the variable or the container which is supposed to hold the data. So for example, let's say you want to store, you are dealing with a client or a user's data, and you want to store the age of the user. The age is a number. So in computers, when it is a number, we call something called data type. The data type is nothing but a description, okay, a description of what kind of variable or what kind of container are we trying to create. So when we see that age can be anything, it can be a string, it can be a character, it can be like a number as we are having it right now. So when we see a data type which is an int means integer. I think we have come across integer, real numbers, double. I think this kind of different type of numbers we have come across in our middle classes, like when we were in SHS, GHS, we know we have come across integer when it comes to mathematics. So this data type is nothing but a description to the variable. I mean to the variable, and the variable name is the age, and the 20 is the value. So let's say the user's age is 20, the person is of age 20. Now we want to create a variable that will hold the data, which is 20. Now all that we do is we declare int. As I said, the int is the data type, which is an integer, of course. So int age is equal to 20 and the comma. This comma, not all the languages will be needed, but for Java that we are using right now, it will be needed for every statement. And then again, this is just an assignment of maybe a value to a variable, but we can call this whole thing int age is equal to 20, comma, as a statement. And every statement in Java has to be ended with a semicolon. Okay, so now let me try to step deeper into this statement. Now, this 20, for example, we could see this rectangle here. Let's assume this rectangle is our memory, okay? So even though we have declared this int age is equal to 20 right now, but when the compiler, okay, when the compiler is actually compiling this statement, it will actually go and create the variable in your memory. That is your RAM. Okay, that's your RAM. It will create a small portion. It will get a slot in the memory and put the 20 inside. What happens is whenever, let's say, you need 20, you need the age of that particular user, you just have to call age. Whenever you type age, the age will reference the slot created in the memory. Then it will get the value for you. So this is what we call assigning a value to a variable, assignment of variable. Okay. Now, as I said, if you do not understand anything, jot it down so that when we get to the questions part, you could bring out your question and it gets clarified for you. Thank you. So we have let's come to variable scoping. Now we have known variables. We have understood variable right now. So now let's get into the scoping part of variable. When we talk about scoping, let's assume it's a normal English. When you say a scope of something, it means the context, the environment. I mean the little environment that that particular thing is working in. That is called scoping. Now let's relate this to what you are coming to teach right now. Okay, fine. So variable scoping is the context, the variable has been declared. That is what we mean by scoping. So in programming, we normally use parentheses. We normally use parentheses to show a scope or a context or a block of code. So let me fast forward. We see this is called a class. Don't be confused. It will be taught later in the section, but not this class, but it will be needed here. For example, we have a class here. When we talk about a class is an object. Okay, so any object, anything in this world can be an object. And an object I'm talking about is just like a child or an instance of a class. So, for example, let's say if you have a TV, if you want to kind of like virtually create a TV in your program, you're not going to bring the TV in your program, right? But you want to model the TV. So we write something called maybe public class TV. So that's what we are having here. So for example, we have a test. This is just a normal test. And then this normal test, this is how we declare the class. There is a public class test, and this is the parent test I'm talking about. Something like brackets, curly bracket. Do you get it? So this parent, sorry, not a parenthesis actually, it's a curly bracket. So the scoping in programming, we use this curly bracket to denote a scope. Okay, so we have an opening curly bracket and a closing. I don't know if you can make of my pointer, my mouse pointer. So this is the ending bracket, curly bracket of this opening one. So this whole place, this whole place is actually the scope. So for example, integer a, that's int a semicolon. When we have this declared variable, if we want to access this declared variables outside of this scope, it is not going to be possible. You can only access the variable in this scope. And then again, we have something called a method. Okay, void method 1. And this method 1, okay, let me try to show you an actual code so that it will help you with understanding. Give me 1 second, I'm coming. Okay, can we all see something different? This is not a slide. I'm expecting to see something like a studio. Can we see something like this? I wanted to show you what is meant by a scope. If you can see, that's fine. So when we have, this is a scope I was talking about, this end curly bracket. You see this is a curly bracket, and this is the ending curly bracket. And this whole thing is a scope. So when you have something like a string, okay, this is a string, and this is the variable s, and this is the value. So there's no way I can access this s outside here. I can't call s here. If I try to call s here, it doesn't find it. Why? Because it is beyond the scope of this. Okay, but then if let's say I want to call something like this. This is a method, right? Let me not go to the method. Let me try to use this for a better understanding. Okay, so this is an assignment of a variable. Now, if I want to make use of, I want to call this new string. I can call this new string in this scope. In this scope, if I call new string right now, I should be able to find it. Okay, and it will point me that this is the new string that I'm trying to refer. And this is nothing but a memory slot, a memory address that has been created. And now this value has been put inside the memory. But then the memory is in the form of this. 0 1 0 1 0 1 like
Yeah, we
0
can
1
see.
yeah 0 1 like this. Okay, but it is very hard for human being to remember all this. So we map this memory address to a very understandable word like news trend, age, TV, anything that you want to call. You can call it anything as far as you could remember, you can remember. So one of the things that I was saying is, for example, when we are trying to create a variable, it is when we start programming, it will be very good when we are naming a variable. You should make sure that the variable, the naming syntax of the variable is meaningful. It's meaningful. If this thing I did here, I just said strange s is equal to this a b a b a b. It is not meaningful because anyone who will take up this project or a code wouldn't understand what it means. But then if I want to store, maybe I want to store I just want to store maybe a user's data. Okay, so I create a user data like this, and I want to name the age. So getting the age of the user. So all that I have to do is integer age. Okay, and for example, yeah, the age can be a number. So age, and the age of the person can be, let's say, 23. Now you can try to get more information. Let's say the name of the user, the name or the first name of the user. For example, when you go to a bank and you are filling a form. So mostly when you are filling a form, we do all something like this. So this is variable assignment. So I'm just trying to say that you can name here this one A, you can name this one F, but it doesn't make sense. What is like, what are you doing? And even you that you wrote the code yourself, a time to come, you come back to it and you don't even know why and how you name this. So it will be prudent if you can name it very well, so that in future, or should someone different person come up and take up the project, will not find the person wanting. I mean, the person will not find himself or herself wanting. So it is better we create when we are naming, in our naming constructs of our variables, we make sure that it is very meaningful. Okay. So today, this is what we are talking about. We want to learn variables and scoping. So give me a second, let me go back to the slide. Okay. So yeah, so we are saying all that it is on these slides and that I have summarized. I've summarized all of them. So the methods that we are talking about was what I showed you, and we should make sure that the variable can be accessed outside, the member variables can be accessed outside the class with following rules. So we have rules, and these things, don't worry yourself. I think it's part of variable scoping, but this is more related to when we are teaching classes. Take your time. We will get to it. Is actually part of the course. I mean, this month's course. We would read classes, but not today. So, but to pick your interest, these public ones are protected, and these things that we saw in the studio I just showed you, these are called modifiers. Modifiers, when you say public, no, I won't go into details right now. So it will be part of the classes when we are teaching classes. So now I think when we have ended the session on the variables and variable scoping. If you have any question or any doubts, please bring them so that we clarify them for you. Thank you. So hello class.
Hello, we are here.
Okay,
Hi.
so as I said, so we have ended. I've ended my session on variables and variable scoping. Any questions, any confusions, any clarifications, anything that bothers any understanding, you could bring them so that we clarify them for you before we continue. Did we understand it or we didn't? And if we didn't, which part did you not understand it? Are we there?
It's time for questioning. If you have any question concerning the whole this thing, you can ask. I have a question, a simple
Okay.
question.
Okay.
You were saying variables are objects. That side. If you could revisit that side and explain what objects are like. Thank you.
Okay. So as I was saying, I didn't say variables are objects. So I was saying variables are like containers in simple form. Containers. They just store information or data. So variables are not objects.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, boss.
Okay.
Boss.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, please. We are listening, so you can continue with your submission. Hello. Yes, someone was on the floor. Someone was about to ask a question. Yeah.
So per what you have taught us this evening,
Okay.
if you really want to understand variables and variable scoping, then you must really understand the data types very well, right? The string, the integer, and all that, right? Hello.
Yes, but I think so that one too is a different thing, but then just that it goes hand in hand. Yeah, it goes hand in hand. But the purpose was concerning how we store things on computers. I mean, in computers, specifically memory, how we store something. So the variables are like, it is linked to the memory slots. We have a memory, right? And the memory is is divided into different portions, different slots. So every slot is supposed to hold a data, and this data, that is it. As I said, the memory slot is identified with an ID, a specific unique address, a unique address. But this unique address, it is not easy to remember. Okay, we human beings, it is not easy to remember because these address names are 0 and 1, 0 and 1, binary. It is in a binary representation, which is very difficult to remember or understand actually. So we kind of like map these address IDs, okay, to something that you human being can easily remember and understand. And I cited an example. If let's say you are creating, let's say you want to model a user, and everything in computer and everything is like an object in computer. User is an object, TV is an object, uh everything is an object. Anything that you can think of, plants, trees, everything is an object. Tables an object. But then when you want to model something like it, we write a class. And I didn't want to go into the class too much because it's something that will be taught later in this course, okay? But then we have something called a class, and within the class, that is where it's kind of like you are storing the information concerning that object. Typically, let me try to use let me not talk abstractly. Let me try to go into the practical session. Let me switch into the studio so that I can show you something. I think it will aid with the understanding. Okay, let me show.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so now can we see my studio right now? Can we all
Yes,
see?
you can see class.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now let me show you something. For example, I was trying to create a class. So this class that I'm creating, let's say I have this data class I'm creating about a user, and this user, this is what I said. So like an age. Now someone said, if you want to understand variable very well, then you might need to understand the data type. Not really. Why am I saying not really? Not really, because you can still know if you run or you go and learn or know data type, it doesn't mean that you know how to create variables. But the data type helps, is like a description. Now, for example, let's say you in our real world scenario, let me put it. For example, a water. Water is different from a block or bricks. Why? Because water is liquid. Why? Brick is a solid. These are different descriptions. If you have to group them so under those categories. So if we want to store an age is a number. So we will prefer that we use an integer. If you want to store a name is not a number, so we will not use an integer. So this is like some understanding, pre-understanding, or something that you have to have. But you can still know how variables are declared and assigned without always actually knowing the data types very well. But it is still good. It's something that it's like a good have. It's something that you can have on your fingertips. Even the age that we are talking about, you can even store age like long. Long is also a data type. But that doesn't mean that if you don't know long, you cannot declare a variable. What this is, since I said a variable, it has to be unique, and in the same context, you cannot declare more than one. I mean, the same variable more than once. I mean, more than one. So now I have created an age, which is a variable here, and I created the same age, which is a variable. Now the computer is trying to tell me that no, you don't do that. You see, variable age is already declared in the scope. You get it? This is the scope it is talking about. What I've highlighted. This is the scope. So now in the memory, we have this age, which is kind of like a representation of the memory address. And now we are creating another memory address. The computer is confused. What are you talking about? So it's better you choose one and the error will go away. So is there anything, someone who asked this
Yes, my
is qualified?
my hands is raised.
Come again.
My hands is raised. My hands is raised. This one.
Okay. I think.
Please, can I?
Yeah, you can talk.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
To add to what my colleague said, and to add to your question that you asked, that are you supposed to know data types or not? Yes and no at the same time. There are some programming languages that are not strongly typed. So, for instance, if you are coding in Ruby, there's no need to declare the data type of that variable before you pass it. So, for instance, if you want age, you just say age equals 40 and it takes it. You don't need to specify whether the variable is an int or is this thing a string. And then before we had this, we are having this class, our previous two classes, we tackled data types because we've organized all the classes according to how you understand it very well. So I'm assuming that you've not looked at the last two class that we had, and I advise that you visit that. And I'm sure, looking at what our colleague is teaching you right now, it's in sync because we've already taught data types, strings, integers, booleans, and all that. So this is a build up on what we did last year, December. And it's just two class. You can just make time and go to our YouTube page and then look at it, then revisit this class. You understand what he's saying. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for your your submissions and your clarifications. Do we have anyone who also have challenges with understanding the concept that we just described?
Okay, so I want to just add, can we get a
Okay.
link to the previous lessons? Because some of us just joined, and from what you are saying, there's been a first and second class. So me, this is my first time, but this is the third time they're taking us through this. So I appreciate it if we can get a link for the first and second class, so that we can be a pair with what you guys are teaching us. It's quite very good for me as I'm sitting behind my machine right now.
Okay.
Thank
So
you,
it will
Mr. Sam.
provided. The link will be shared on the page. But what I will tell you is, don't get discouraged. I know since this being your first class, it will seem hideous as you put it, or it will seem scary. But it shouldn't scare you. This is the first time. What you should have at the back of your mind is it's just like a step-by-step process that we are taking right now. So
Sure.
don't get scared or don't be afraid. Everything will be fine. I think it's just a matter of one of two or more understanding. But what you have to do right now, as you are saying, you are pointing for it. We will get you the link of the previous class that, what happened, so that on your leisure time or free time, you could go through them so that you can catch up with. Yeah.
Sure.
So it will be provided. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and to add to what my colleague said, if you finish watching any of the previous classes and you have any question, you can directly send it to me, or you can just put it on the page for the benefit of the whole group on WhatsApp, and then we will look at it and answer you per your question, so that it's not the learning is just not only coming to watch the video, it's a continuous process. So we expect that we get more feedbacks from you. So as you are watching the video and you don't understand some things that we said in the previous videos, you can just put your question on the page and then we'll sort you out. And as you've requested, we will put it on the page. We have we always record all the classes. Don't worry, we have the previous classes. Thank you. So
Okay.
without
Do we have any questions? Are we
still have,
like
so,
silence me consent? So
yeah, we
that
still have more.
am I supposed to take your silence to be like you have understood what we thought?
Not really, but I guess it's a gradual process. So we'll watch it over and over and practice and read more. I think we'll be able to follow up.
Okay, so I think not really. I like it, but which part that you think we are trying to understand but we are not getting it? Like just let me know how you are thinking, so that would be very helpful. Do you get me? Like you should. I understand.
Yes,
Say this is the first. This might be your first time, but don't be. Let me put it like don't feel shy, like maybe I will say something and it is not correct, and maybe I'll come across what is this guy saying? No, that's why we are all here for. So just let me know what you do, how you are taking things and how you do not understand something. What you are saying you do not understand.
basically, it's not like no, and then what I mean is we need to read more on it and then watch a couple of videos and then.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So meaning, okay, fine. So if you want to also do it in that way too, it is fine. It is fine. So meaning is that Or
There's a
all of you have?
there's a hand.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, yeah. Go on, please. Go on. Yeah,
All
go
right.
on.
Good evening.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm new here and I just joined, but my question is, I want to
Okay.
know which language we are learning. Is it Java? And if yes,
Okay.
do we have other languages that we will be learning, or is only Java that you are going to learn? Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. So now what we are doing right now is today we just talk about variables and variable scoping. Okay, but these variables and variable scoping that we just treated, it can be done in any language. It can be done in any language. But this is kind of like fundamentals, the basis. So we are actually starting from the basis where anything can be. You can use Java, you can use any language that you think. But now today we use Java to explain the variable scoping, and it is not different from C++. It is not different from Python, C#, other languages, Swift, Scala, and any language, JavaScript. They are not different. They are all the same. PHP, they are all the same. But this is kind of like to help you understand variable, the concept. So here, we want you to understand the concept of storing data on computers. The concept, okay, that's what we are actually writing home about, the concept. Now, to answer the second part of your question, we are not going to use Java entirely throughout the course. At a point in time, we will break into individual, where your interest lies. If you want to be on mobile, meaning that maybe you want to now take Java seriously, or you want to take, let's say, Flutter seriously, yeah. So when it happens that way, then we have to will break into different groups, okay, based on our interests. So we are not going to tackle, or we are not going to use Java entirely throughout the course. So at a point in time, or it will go into where your interest lies, you will be breaking into those sections. And if you want to, let's say, be a backend engineer, and you want to, let's say, take Ruby as your major language, or you want to take, let's say, C++ or Java, or then we help you do that. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I see hands up. So
But I also have a follow-up question. That
okay.
On the page, like today, I saw someone asking about the meetings. I don't know if something can be done by putting the meetings on the page so that we know that, oh, at this time we are meeting. Because for me, for
Okay.
instance, I just saw the link and I tried to join, and I'm here now. So if the meetings can be put on the page for us, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. To be done for you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very
Go
much.
ahead.
This answer, yeah. So sorry for those who joined later this week. We apologize for not sharing how the meetings goes. We meet twice in a week. We meet Mondays and Fridays, and the time currently is 7:30. But today we had some few technical challenges, so we started at 8:10. Some of us couldn't join. We had issue joining the Skype. So we the team is checking if we can use another platform. But we believe Skype allows a lot of people to join. That's why we're using Skype now. But maybe if we are going to use a different platform, we'll let you guys know ahead of time. So we apologize for especially those who joined in just shortly. We apologize for not sharing any information about how we do our meetings. But basically, it's every Monday and every Friday. We had a break. We started last year, December. We just had 2 sessions and we had a break. But we've resumed fully, and as we plan, we are going to go through this course for a period of 6 months. Now, what you are going through right now is just the basics of programming, and the knowledge transcends across every programming language. So it doesn't matter which platform or which language you are going to use. And as we promised, we are going to also look at your strengths and know how to segregate the team. We are going to have a front end, we are going to have a global, and we are going to have a back end. And we focus on one particular programming language. All this information is going to be shared on the WhatsApp page. So you can just give a thumbs up sometimes when you see our leader putting information there to just help us know that you've seen the information. So I hope I've answered your question. Thank you very much. You
Yes,
have
please.
7
Thank you.
minutes more to end this.
Okay.
So if there are any questions, we have seven minutes more.
Yeah. So do you have any question, any question whatsoever for classification? Okay. So I think they are satisfied. I'm thinking they are starting to be satisfied. I mean, satisfaction. Yeah. So Andy, if you have any more anything to add again.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Bismarck, for your time and this information that you've given us. Thank you very much. Thank you, team, for everyone who made time to join the class. Way forward, we'll probably try and join early before even the tutor joins, so that we can start exactly on time and close early on time. We also want to apologize for not sharing the link, as I said earlier, for the newcomers who joined. And we are not only available just on the Mondays and Fridays. If you have any question, you can ping us on the page and we'll answer for the benefit of the whole group. So we are available for you. The aim of this whole 6-month course is to empower young people like us to be able to also hit the market. Africa is big. The big tech guys outside have keen interest in Africa, and we can give them the human resources they need, and we can also have a good life. So let's take this class serious. It's gonna be a roller coaster. There are times we're going to understand some courses. There are some times that the courses is not going to be as clear as we want, but then consistency and how do you call it, perseverance, like fishing, making sure that you understand whatever it is, will help you become the programmer that we are expecting you to become. 40% of the job is done by us, 60% of the job is done by you. And we will give you all the guidelines and tricks, but you practicing consistently and being creative about it is going to take you on a long haul. So thank you very much. And on this note, we are going to say goodbye till we meet on Monday. Thank you very
so
much.
much
So
for
I'm
your time. Thank you so much for your time and the resources. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.